Hello there, I'm Blackbright and I am speaking from the east of England into your homes. Welcome to my channel. First time you're passing through, you're welcome to click the like button, the dislike. You're welcome to share it with your friends and family, and you're welcome to interact with my subscribers. And for those who have donated, I just want to give you some thank yous and bless you all. And yeah, so I wanted to talk about a very fragile subject, and it's to do with men. As I'm not a man, it's going to be difficult for me to speak on behalf of a man, but I would like to think that being empathetic, I can kind of relate to how they may feel in certain circumstances. So I want to talk about men who have been hurt and who are afraid to love again, afraid to give again. And, the women's part in all of this, the women that have damaged men. So I wanted to try to have some, I don't even know whether or not I'm coming from the right place, but let me just jump in. Men who have been damaged, or men who have been hurt, men who have been betrayed, how does that feel? You have to think of a man not as a strong, even though many of them look physically strong, but you have to look on a man as just a human being whose heart can break just like a woman's heart, who can feel pain just like a woman feels pain, and who is just basically a human being. And they've been put on this earth to withstand everything. That is the role that the man has been given. You see that Adonis, and you see these big bodybuilders, and it's almost as though men have to aspire to be that. On top of that, men have to aspire to be providers. They have to aspire to be good husbands, good fathers. And when they're trying to aspire to do that, and the system is against them, and then they've chosen unwisely, then they can become very hurt and very afraid. But they're not allowed to say that they're afraid. They're not allowed to feel afraid because of the image that might present. But even though they're not meant to show that they're afraid or show that they're hurt, it's translated in their behavior, and especially in relationships with women. When a man who has hurt tries to rebuild his life with another woman, it's very, very difficult. And men hold on to hurt much longer than women. Men who have been betrayed, or men who have been taken advantage of, hold on to that pain, because as far as they're concerned, they are meant to be they are meant to have made the right choice. Their choice gives them credibility. And when you go up in front of a vicar and in front of all of your friends, and you tell the world, I have chosen this woman to be my lawful wedded wife, you are making an open commitment. You are making yourself vulnerable. And whether or not you make that speech in front of a congregation or a pastor, or whether it's just something you've made in your heart to somebody you care about, the effect is still the same when it goes wrong. You beat yourself up. And when if especially if men are materially well off, and then they find themselves in a position, not only did they choose wrongly, not only did that woman manipulate him into a situation, not only did he let his willy talk for him, and then used and so he disengaged the brain, he has to face a situation that he may lose out financially as well. Sometimes men lose out 90% of what they brought into a relationship, because the system is against men a lot of the way. a lot of the times. So what do men do when they've been hurt? What do men do when they're afraid? What do men do when they're not sure whether the woman that they like really likes them back or only likes them for what they have? I could make the same argument for women, because a lot of women have a little bit more than men. So a lot of women have those same thoughts. Does he really like me for me, or is he looking for a roof over his head? Is he looking for me to supplement him? What is he looking for? Likewise, men think the same way, but because men are meant to be providers, it's much harder for them to think that way. So what a lot of them do, they just step back. You've got a lot of single men out there who have brilliant jobs, who have their own home, who are doing well, but they are petrified of taking on a woman because they are so afraid they're going to lose everything by making another mistake. Women tend to just jump up and start all over again, and they find themselves in another relationship, unless, of course, they find it difficult to find someone else. But by and large, if the opportunity is there, they're more likely to jump in and start over. Men are going to be more skeptical. Men feel as though they've got more to lose, their credibility, their reputation. They don't want to make the same mistake twice. So you hear some men, I'll never get married again, because they don't want to risk making a mistake again. So they live with that, I wouldn't want to say guilt, but they live with that resentment and hostility against women that plays out in either jealousy, possessiveness, emotional abuse, neglect. That's how it plays out. A man might not realize that his insecurities, because of past experiences, plays out in a lot of different forms when you meet a woman. And a lot of women, they pick it up, and it's not attractive. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sometimes a lot of men are wonderful, are beautiful creatures, are really, really nice people. Life has dished them dirt. And so they've got their defense mechanisms up. And they're afraid. And then on top of that, you've got the system that's against them, afraid to go out on the street in case they're racial profiled. A lot of them are dependent on women to have their back. So they're navigating a world where they don't feel supported, and they can't trust people around them. Sometimes not even the women that they're with. They're always on their guard. They always have to be skeptics. And it's not attractive. But how do they get over that? How do they learn to trust again? How do they learn to love again? How do they learn to make themselves vulnerable again? Because that is what it's about. It's about making yourself vulnerable. And a lot of men are afraid to do that. Women are afraid to do it. A lot of women, they'll say they won't get into a relationship again. But I think the impact is much harder on a man, because a man's need for company is much more stronger than a woman. And a man's need for comfort and reassurance and nurturing is much stronger than a woman. Have you ever noticed men who are single versus men who are in a relationship? And I'm not talking about any relationship, because some relationships can be quite destructive. Some men just stay in the relationship because they don't want to be on their own, the same way as women. But when you see a man who is in a loving relationship, have you seen the bounce in his step? Have you seen him glow? I mean, you can actually see it, it's visible. And, men need to trust again, not necessarily the other person, but trust themselves. And sometimes, because their mind is distorted and because they are worried, you have to remember, women are quite clever. Well, women are very clever. When you even go back to the Bible, you've got Delilah, you've got all sorts. And women know what men want, but men don't know what women are capable of to get them. A woman can get any man she wants, regardless of how a man will resist her. And that's what I think men are afraid of. Men are afraid of the power and influence of women, especially if they have a lot to lose. But they do have, yes, it's hard. And yes, you might have to admit making another mistake, but they do have prenups. That alone, if you say to a woman, I'm really interested in you, I would like to, I really, really love you, and I want to take this to the next level, would you be prepared to do a prenup? If that woman has got your best intentions at heart, she wouldn't have a problem with that. So if it's about your material wealth that you're worried about, or if it's about your heart has to get broken, but it has to heal again. You can't hold on to a broken heart indefinitely, because that is what makes you feel secure. And that is what will put you in positions where you're constantly rejected, and that insecurity is compounded. So you need to know that regardless of any mistakes you've made in the past, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has insecurity. You might even say, look, I'm getting old now. I'm getting older now. I can't perform as I used to. Am I going to find a woman when I can't perform as well? Am I going to find a woman when, now that, I have false teeth, now my hair is leaving, I'm going bald, I haven't got this strong physique. The thing is, I think it works both ways with regard to relationships. Yes, we all have our ideal type of person that we're attracted to. But, if two people are stable, they are looking for character. And they're looking to be treated well. If you find that you're treating a woman well, and when I say well, you're being considerate, you're calling, if you go to visit her, you take a bottle of wine, or if she cooks for you, you cook for her. One day, like you could say, she might cook for you one day. Oh, why not come to my house and I'll give you something to eat? You've got some kind of reciprocation going on. Men need to know that if you have a woman that wants you to do everything, then that's not the woman you want in your life. You don't want a woman who's not considerate. And, some men feel as though they've got to play the role. And I'm not saying if you're wealthy and if you're well off, then fine. If you can afford to take a woman out, if, 3 days a week or whatever it is, afford to take her to nice places, afford to take her on holidays, that's fine. But if you're just a regular guy, what you need to be looking for is a regular girl who is considerate. And sometimes men try to overcompensate and they behave outside their means, and they behave in a way that they believe a woman expects them to behave. And then they build up an expectation. That woman ends up thinking, just supposing you decide you see a woman who you really like. You can't really afford it, but you have some money aside and you think, oh, I really like this woman. I really want to impress her. I'm going to take her somewhere really, really nice. But the thing is, you're setting a standard when you do that. You're raising expectations when you do that. So when you're with a woman, you need to be honest about your position, about who you are. A lot of men, what they do is, and this is why they get disappointed and this is why they get hurt, they go into a relationship with lies. And it could be small lies. It could be something as simple as, oh, I don't smoke. But really they do. Or they say, oh, well, I don't smoke, but I'm giving it up. I used to smoke 60 a day. I used to smoke 40 a day. Now I'm only smoking 10. And then you find later on down the line that they're proper smokers. It could be something even like that. Some people lie about how many kids they've got because they feel as though you're going to judge them on the amount of children they have. Some men lie about, the fact that they don't have a job because they think that you're not going to want them. And I'm going to tell you now, if you haven't got a job, or if you haven't got a mode of income, it's not attractive for a woman, because the first thing that woman is going to think is that she's going to have to maintain you, sustain you, and supplement you. And she can just about do it herself. So that is not attractive. And so you're in a world, especially through the coronavirus, especially with layoffs, especially if you've been made redundant, where you're in a vulnerable position where you may have been laid off, you may have been furloughed. At least if you've been furloughed, you have some income, or you may be on disability benefit and it can just about cover you. But you might be in a position where you feel, I've got nothing to offer this woman. I'm not working. I can just about look after myself. I won't be able to take her out. I won't be able to do this. And you list up this whole stream of obstacles. Sometimes in this world now, there's a lot of people, you don't have to be in a relationship per se. You can have a friendship. Why not try that? It's less intimidating. And I think people should start going back to the olden days where people used to develop friendships. They used to have these long courting periods. Well, what I call that is a friendship. You're getting to know someone. Neither of you have any expectations of each other. You just say, I like you. I just like to talk to you. No strings attached. I don't want to sleep with you. I just want some company. I just want somebody to talk to about my day. And you can meet somebody like that, or, start a relationship like that. Sometimes the best relationships start off with friendships. So all I'm saying is that if you are afraid, build friendships. Don't isolate yourself. And when you're in a friendship, be open, be honest. You find that there's so much hesitancy. I guess I'm approached by a lot of men. I'm not saying that to be boastful. I'm not saying that to say I can get any man I want. It's not a question of that. When I was looking for a partner, I was looking for their spirit. It didn't have anything to do with what they had or what they could offer me. If a man could take me out once in a while, fine, good. I'm in a position, I don't necessarily need that. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. What's important to me is to have somebody who's affectionate, considerate, loving, warm and tender, and who's intelligent enough to hold a conversation, a decent conversation. That's what's important to me. Now, that might not be important to every other woman, but why I'm saying that is that I get approached by a lot of people. But if you're going to say hiya, or if you're going to say what you come up with, what's your name, or whatever it is that some of these people come up with, I'm not interested. I mean, fortunately, I'm not in that position now. But my point is that men need to build up an arsenal of vocabulary, and they need to find topics to talk about. They need to find interests so that before they meet a woman, they know that they've covered a lot of things that there's there to talk about. If you go in unprepared, it's like going for an interview. You don't just meet somebody and just present yourself. You have to do your homework. And even if it's about yourself, some people, like when you go for a job, you know what you're good at, but you have difficulty articulating it. And so when you present yourself in an interview, you fall flat, because even though you know the job back to front, You haven't really thought about it. And so when they ask you questions, it comes like you don't know anything. It's similar to a relationship. You know, with a job, you need, especially today's interviews, you need to, when you're getting results, if somebody says well done to you when you're at work, you need to reflect back and think of all the steps you took to get that result. And then you write that down so you know what it is that it took to get that result, and you can do it again. Some of us do things on automatic pilot. Sometimes when I do something at work, I'm so used to doing it, I don't even think about it. And I remember when I went for an interview, and say the department I was in was safeguarding children, just supposing. And I went into that interview and they said to me, so what does safeguarding children mean? I'm like, dumbfounded. And it's the department I'm working in. You see what I mean? That is an example. So you can know your job, you can know your worth, but articulating it is a different matter. So when you're thinking about interacting with women, you need to have an arsenal of interest and an arsenal of vocabulary. So that, you know, if she says to you, oh, what are you interested in? You don't just say football. You can say, you know, football because A, B, C, D, and E, you know, and I may be addicted to it when the football season comes. You might not see me often because I'm going to be glued to that TV. Is that going to be a problem for you? You don't hide your interests. You don't hide your passions. You need somebody to accept you for who you are. And so what is it about football that you like? Is it the competitiveness? Is it the skill of the footballers? Mind you, I always think it's a fluke when they get a goal, but you might think something different. But you kind of study your interests so that when somebody says to you, what are you interested in? When they say, oh, what work do? You don't just say, I'm a plumber. You can say, you know, I'm a plumber and I went to this house and I've done this, and I kind of see plumbing as 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 a resolution, like conflict resolution, because somebody whose plumbing has failed, they are all up in a mess. They're frantic, and you're going into that home and you're putting things right for that person. You're actually relieving that person's stress by putting things right. You might not look at it that way, but when you're doing a job, you're relieving someone else's stress when you do it right. So you can kind of think about things that you do, why you do it. You can use the time that you spend alone to think about why you are alone. What is it about your behavior? How are you projecting yourself on other people? How do you think people see you? Do you think they see you the way you see yourself, or is it different? What's most important is improving your character, improving the way you are. Try to get rid of all that innate resentment. If you have resentment, try to work through it. If you're still hurting, face up to it and try and deal with it. Even like I said to, you know, some of my videos, write it out. Talk about it on a audio. Talk about it to yourself in a video. Nobody's looking, nobody's listening. Vent your anger, vent your frustration. Get rid of it. And you don't just do that once. You might need to do it 5, 6, 7 times. But you'll know when that sense of relief comes and you think, and then when you reach that stage where you feel light inside, then you can start thinking about what direction you want to go in. You might not even want a partner yet. You might just want to kind of look after yourself, look after your home, start planting, start cooking, start looking in the mirror. If you haven't shaved, you start shaving and shaping yourself up, making yourself look good. Men who are hurt, you can see them off a mile. They don't care. They look like granddads. When you ask them their age, they're in their 40s and 50s, and they look like they're in their 60s and 70s. Need grooming. Groom yourself through the hurt. Just see it as building up resilience and resourcefulness. Work through the pain. Work through the heart. Through the pain and work through the hurt. And you'll find over time that you'll get through it, and try not to leave it too long. And don't leave it until you're dependent on someone. And so you just take up anyone, and the same thing you were running away from, you end up in, because you're desperate. Don't wait until you reach that point where now you're really old, you can't get it up, you can't, you're coughing, you're spluttering, you've got some kind of health problems, and now you're looking for a woman to look after you. It don't work like that. You need to get yourself right now. You need to look after yourself now. If you're in your 50s, get a grip. Get a grip so that, 50s is still young. 50s are still young. 50s, you don't have to start thinking, oh, I'm too old. And men tend to do that, oh, I'm balding. Who's going to want me? Nobody ain't going to want me, this and that and this and that. I tell you, the right women, if you've got the right attitude, will want you. She'll bring out the best in you. You just have to look. Don't just jump in. You have to look at the signs. Some people might think, oh, I wish you were my girlfriend, man. I'm not all that. I get angry and I'm quite critical sometimes. So I'm not, I know I've got my act together to a certain degree, but any man that I'm with needs to be bloody strong. They need to be bulletproof. But they also need to be loved. And when I say bulletproof, I don't mean aggressive. I don't mean hard. But they need to not be intimidated by me. They need to be loving and tender and treat me like a woman. So all I'm saying is that a lot of times you'll see women out there who will put up their barriers, who will come over as hard and strong and unapproachable. And you can't think in your fragile state, oh boy, I'll go there now. I ain't going there. That woman is going to give me grief. But she might be hurting just like you. And that's why I'm saying, when you're just building friendships and you're not looking for relationships, you don't have so many expectations. You don't have to put the bar so high. You can just get to know people. And hopefully getting to know people will help build up your confidence, will make you feel better. You've got no obligation to the person. And who knows, you might even end up fancying each other. You might end up healing each other. I believe everybody comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Whatever that reason is, whether it's for a week, a day, a month, or a year, that person came in your life to teach you something. That person doesn't necessarily have to be in your life forever, even though you may think that they are, because men tend to know what they want more than a woman does. A man will look at a woman and say, I want her, and he'll know that he wants her. But a woman doesn't think that way. A woman will be thinking, I wonder if he's the right person. He's going to have to prove to me that he's the right person. But so whereas a man will know who he wants and just go head in, and he's not really checking himself, the woman is checking him to make sure he is the right person for her. And that's where sometimes relationships fall flat, because a man will think, because he's made that decision, he has the choice, and he's not thinking about where the woman is in all of this. He's not checking back. And they're not having those awkward conversations that bring together to make sure that you're both on the same page. A man can say, listen, I want you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. While the woman's thinking, boy, I'm not sure about this. I've just come out of a relationship. I'm not sure if he's the right one. supposing he's this, supposing he does that, supposing this. And so she's going through this phase where she's working out whether or not she wants to spend the rest of her life with you. Meanwhile, you already know that she's the one. And so you just go in head on and you don't really check yourself. When I say check yourself, some men, when they meet somebody who they love or who they like or who they want, they become complacent about themselves. They stop caring. They stop showing attention. Once they're in a relationship, they tend to stop all that attentiveness. You know, when they first meet you, oh yeah, I love you, I want you, and they're all over you. And then two twos, you know, they stop. And that woman's thinking, you know, what's happened? You know, where is this person I was with 6 months ago? Where's he gone? Meanwhile, that man's become complacent, take out him tea, don't bother, you know, put it on the side, you know, doesn't bother to shave, sits there with his belly open, puts on some old tracksuit with all paint all over it, put on some old slippers that need for dashwear. And I was looking at him. You're looking at him, so to say, is this the same person? And this one, that time when I looked at you and said, I love you, you know, I love you. And you're just like, all I'm saying, man, is don't become complacent. Because sometimes you don't know what's happened in a relationship and you're complicit in what's happened because you've stopped caring. I know it's hard. Relationships are hard. They require effort. You can't slip up. And that's why I say always listen to your woman. Always listen to her. Regardless of whether you consider it nagging or whatever, because she's trying to kind of put the relationship in a place where she wants to stay with you. Especially if you've said, you're the woman I want. She is now trying to put that relationship on track so that she feels the same way you do. But if you go into that relationship all confident and everything, and then, 6 months down the line, you can't be bothered. What is attractive about that? You're coming to hold her up and you have your big belly and you've got on some old vest on that's all ripped. And you have on some big old shirts that have all washed out. I don't know where you get them from. I don't know why you don't throw them out. You know? And you have on some old slippers that you've had from the year of naught. And then you're holding her up and saying, boy, I love you, you know. And you look like crap. That woman has an image of you when you met. And you have to maintain that image. That is why it's important to be authentic. It's important to be who you are. It's important for you to, sometimes, changing the subject, I was watching a video of this, I don't know how old the men were, because I think people in Jamaica look much older than what they were. They are. But they don't like to go to the dentist. And this man never, he didn't have no teeth. He had a couple of teeth. And his hair was grey, and he had this big machete, because he was obviously a farmer or something. This big machete and this dirty shirt on, and he had some old jeans, and he was with this woman. Likewise, she had maybe about one tooth in the front and two at the bottom, and she had a scarf on her head, and she had this plain dress on, and they were kissing. And that video went around. I wish I knew who'd sent it to me, because I would show you. But I can't show you anyway because it's got music in it and they'll take it off. But anyway, they were dancing and they were kissing. And comments were, oh, he looks dirty, and him look this and him look that. But that man is himself. That woman is herself. And the two of them are together as themselves. So I haul up her bottom and they're dancing and she's kissing them, and she don't see what we see. She sees an authentic man, and he's not trying to pretty himself up. All I'm saying is that we've learned in this society that we have to look a certain way. And so we're trying to present ourselves in a certain way in order to be accepted. But that way that we're presenting ourselves is not who we are. And what happens is 6 months in a relationship, who you are appears, and it's not who you bargained for, or who who, when you got into that relationship, who you made out you were. And it's something totally different. Maybe the person who you really are is really quite lazy, quite complacent, doesn't really want to go out, is quite happy being at home. But yeah, when you meet somebody, you're talking about, oh yeah, let's go here, let's go there, let's do this, let's do that, which is not who you are. So you're raising expectations. And then once you get in a relationship, that woman's going to say, oh, we used to do this, we used to do that. Whereas if you meet somebody, I don't know how you meet them, but whichever way you meet them, and you're talking and you're being honest and you're saying, look, I don't really like to go out, I'm really a homebody. I just prefer to spend time with my woman, on the sofa, cuddling up, watching a movie, watching a film, having a glass of wine, cooking you a dinner. You can cook me a dinner, whatever. But sometimes men say what they think women want to hear. Oh, I'll take you out for a meal, when it's not really what they want to do, or not really who they are, or maybe they can't even afford it. But whatever. Because then if they're asking you out for a meal, they're thinking, oh my God, I'm asking her out for a meal. I wonder if she's going to pick the most expensive thing on the menu. You're having to make sure you've got enough money on you, or you've got your credit card, and your credit card is already quite high. You don't really want to bump it up. There's a lot of things that are going on. All I'm saying is be authentic. Be yourself. And you need to have confidence in yourself. Sometimes you see these big, buxom women, and they're all out there, confident. And they find man. So you don't have to look a certain way. Whoever you are, as you are, the right person is going to find you. The universe has a way of bringing people together. It has a way of doing that. When you think it's impossible, it doesn't. But your mind has to be ready and your heart has to be open in order for that person. And don't think, oh, because there's coronavirus, and don't think that because you're locked in, you can't meet that person who you're meant to meet. Don't think that, because once you are ready and the universe knows that you're ready, that person will come into your life out of nowhere. And you won't even believe it. Well, it's not that you won't believe it. You need to believe it, because miracles happen. I'm telling you, miracles happen. So all I'm saying is that just be yourself. Be open to love. Get rid of all the hurt and the pain and the mistrust, and don't. Oh, and another thing, men who are hurt love to play games. Testing. You're turning a woman off, and it doesn't prove anything. Women are slick. They know you're playing games. And you think you're proving something, and you're not. Just be honest. I think the best thing a man can do is to be honest. Because even regardless of how small the lie is, you plant the seed of mistrust, and you start off a relationship where that woman is going to doubt you. And, vice versa. So let me think. Just need to trust yourself. You trust yourself enough to choose wisely next time. And don't go in blind. Don't be blinded by a woman's beauty. Don't be blinded by what a woman has. I remember in Jamaica years ago, I don't know if it applies now, but the men used to look at women who were dressed well and who looked good and who put themselves together well, and used to say, oh, there's a good woman. That woman could be crap. Just because you can put yourself well and you can look good doesn't mean you're a good woman. So don't be deceived by the way a woman looks, or the way a woman dresses, or the way a woman speaks. Just spend time with her, watch her character, rile her up a little bit, see how she responds when she gets angry. They say you should never get into a relationship until you've seen someone angry anyway. See how they deal with anger. See how they deal with conflict. Don't run away from it necessarily, unless, of course, they're bloody nutters. But just see how they handle it, and spend time with people. Don't get too, yes, I know your private parts rule a lot of the time. It rules your head. But try to go into friendships or relationships, with a rational mind, knowing that you're going into that relationship with your eyes wide open. You're looking, you're checking. They have that little video that says red flag, red flag. I don't know if you've seen it. If you have 6 baby mother, red flag. If you don't come home in the evening, red flag. They've got that. But anyway, I can't remember the series. You've got a series of things that wave red flags, and you have to know what your red flags are. Don't dismiss them. Don't make excuses for them. You're in a position where you have the power. Your heart is on the line, and you can't afford to have it broken again. So look out for the red flags and don't minimize them. There are something, I'm not asking you to be pedantic and any little thing the woman says or what the man says, you're going to just dismiss them. It's what is important to you. What is important? If she tells you a lie, depending on how big that lie is and how it's important for her to be honest with you. You see, some people can say what they call white lies, but what does that tell you? Does that tell you that she can't be open with you? Why can't she be open with you? Is that because she has some insecurities? I'm not saying that there's anything right or wrong with that. I'm just saying take it on board and notice it. And ask her. If you catch her in a lie, regardless of how small it is, she could say, look, I went to work today and she didn't. You've just met. She might feel as though it's none of your business. But ask her why. Why did you say you went to work today when you didn't? She might say, well, I needed time by myself. I didn't think we're established enough that I have to tell you what I'm doing. But then why volunteer a lie? Did she volunteer a lie? Or did you make the assumption? Or is it lying by omission? She didn't say anything at all. It's what's important to you when you're looking for a woman. So, there are a lot of attractive men out there who've got their act together, but they feel vulnerable, they're emotionally beaten, and they want to find love, but they're afraid. For those of you who this applies, I hope this video helps you to build up that resilience, to give you the courage to try again. It does take courage. Relationships take courage. They take a lot of work. They're not easy. They look easy, especially at the beginning, but you're coming from 2 different worlds, 2 different backgrounds. You don't even know the background of the person. A lot of times people don't know the background of the person and they've been with for years. So, find out a little bit about them. That's an important thing. You can ask them, when last did you have a boyfriend? Why did it break up? If she's defensive about it and doesn't want to say, that will tell you something. She doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe she hasn't got over it. That's a telltale sign. She might say it's none of your business. I don't like talking my business. It's another telltale sign, because if you're having a relationship, you need to be able to communicate. Where did you grow up? Who did you grow up with? They can be little conversation points. White people don't have that problem, Have you noticed? When you're looking at how they interact on TV, white people ain't got a problem about their past, their history. They could have been beaten up. They could have had 10 marriages. They could been on the dole. They could have been in prison. They just tell you like it is. But black people somehow have this protective thing about them. They're afraid to be who they are. They're afraid to speak their truth. They're afraid of letting you know their shortcomings. They're afraid to share their mistakes because they've been judged all their lives. Most of them have been judged, criticized, so they hold everything in. And you have to earn the right to know about that individual. You can be in a relationship with that person for years, and then one day she'll feel comfortable enough to tell you, and you're like, bloody hell, I've been with you for 6 years and only now you're telling me. Why didn't you tell me that before? And it could be something quite important, and you're going to end up thinking, so can I trust this woman? She's had this information for 6 bloody years. Now we're married, we're sitting there, now she's telling me? No, that ain't right. I don't feel comfortable with this. And then the relationship starts going downhill. So, be honest. Honesty is hard, but be honest, be brave and have the courage. If you can't be honest with somebody, they're not the right person for you. There is a person for everyone. There is your soulmate. And yes, it's hard putting your feelers out, getting on that testing ground. We all do it. And I might not even be following my own advice. I'm very good at giving advice. Do I follow my own advice? Not all the time. Only some of the time. And that's all for now. Hope you found this useful. Bye-bye.